The Sacred Source School is the spiritual school. It does have homeopathy as well, but you don't graduate as a homeopath. So that is more like we are starting now with retreats. Our idea in the future is also to have like a 1 or 2 year curriculum with it. And that definitely has different modalities like, shiatsu and body work and going with the Celtic wheel and a lot of astrology and things like that. So that's really a women's spiritual school. And I kind of feel like the Academy of Transformative Homeopathy is like to graduate as a homeopath, but also as a healer. So then the Sacred Source School is like, it's just free to come and fully learn who you are and, just enjoy women's circles and enjoy finding your own spiritual path. So our idea was to...
Hello, homies, and welcome to Homeopathy Hangout, where today we get to hang out with my beautiful friend, Reeta Pohjonen. Welcome to the show, Reeta.
Oh, thank you so much. It's lovely to see you here again.
Any excuse to catch up. And, before we started recording, I was saying to Reeta that today is just going to be two friends hanging out and you all get to listen in because even though we have our little WhatsApp group with us rebels, with myself, Reeta, Danitza, Sarah Valentini and Janey Lavelle, and literally not a day goes past that we are not chatting in there with 10-minute voice messages and photos and songs and podcast recommendations and talks about cases and remedies and triturations and everything. But Reita and I haven't had a chance to properly sit down and talk about her new ventures. So I just think it's lovely that the two of us get to hang out and you get to tell me all about it because there's been little snippets and I have like a little idea of what you're doing, but we haven't sat down and really done the nitty gritty. So I know that this weekend you have some students graduating from your homeopathy school and you're transitioning into a new way of doing things. And that is about as much as I know. And I also just want to preface saying we have done a previous interview with Reita where she's also talked about her story about homeopathy. We've got a couple of Rebels episodes, so you can hear more about her there. But just tell us what is happening at the moment.
So June is always, or the beginning of June is always big for our school. So I've been in the school since 2008
That's
teaching.
Homeopathy School Helsinki. We'll just put that in there for
That's
those who don't know.
actually used to be the Transformational School of Homeopathy Helsinki. And then we
Ah,
changed it into Homeopathy School Helsinki to keep it simple. And then this part of the school is kind of ending. So it has been taught mostly in Finnish with a lot of international seminars and guest lectures and so on. So I told all my students, you need to get your diploma out because we are becoming international. I'm half time moving to Sicily. And if you come after 2 years, I don't know if I remember what you did or didn't. So we have 8 students graduating and another 10 or so graduating in September. And we have a huge graduation. I also have a master class. So we have 19 students there graduating as well. And Janey Lavelle is over here. So we are talking about fertility, fertile homeopaths. We have cacao ceremony. We are doing some Sufi secrets with them, women's circle, and all of the beautiful, luscious women's remedies, and so much. So it's going to be like a powerhouse the whole weekend from Saturday till Sunday.
that I'm sure is going to be a graduation party unlike anything any homeopathic school or otherwise has ever seen. If the two of you are leading it and there's cacao ceremonies involved after experiencing it last year in Bali, that alone will be epic. Everything else is just a bonus. I'm sure it's going to be unlike
Exactly.
any other homeopathic graduation ever. I hope you're taking some photos, or are you getting somebody recording it or taking some photos?
We are taking some photos. And actually, if anybody wants to join, it's still free and open to, come. But, anyways, it is women and it is women sharing their stories. So, we're going to go into birth trauma. We are going to, of course, with infertility and fertility and also their journey. Some have done the 4 year course,
Mm.
and there's a few that have done the 2 year course, which is new. So, what have they taken along the way? As we know, when we start studying homeopathy, we go on this shamanistic journey into ourselves, into the beautiful world of homeopathy. And, many things happen along the way. So the women's circle is to really hear what are the stories of the women and of the homeopaths. And of course, these are interesting stories for anybody studying homeopathy or homeopaths in all.
Beautiful. And you've got some exciting ventures now, like kind of wrapping up this chapter of your life. And then you have some new exciting things happening. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So when we had the Transformational School of Homeopathy, our plan was to have the Transformational School of Homeopathy at Estonia, Copenhagen, and so on. So our idea was to go international. That's like about 10 years ago. And then COVID came and many kinds of things happened. And also, of course, I lost my son Amadeus. So, I wasn't really like going expanding. I was going more inwards. And then I was like, no, now is the time. Also, because Finland is so small, and I think what we have to offer, the world is very interested about it. Our feminine way of teaching, our triturations, our embodied way, and it is very unique. And also the way we co-create with the students. It's kind of like a gem that we've, been polishing throughout all these years. And somebody said that it's kind of like we've come from the old way of very classical homeopathy and transformed it into that plus much more, involving many kinds of modalities. And that's why we came with the Academy of Transformative Homeopathy. We actually asked AI for it, for the name. So
Okay. I was
it
not
came from
expecting
ChatGPT
that. That is the last thing
joining
I
all
would have
these different.
expected. But yeah, at least it's showing that you're staying open-minded, right? Using everything that's
Yes,
out there.
yes.
That's so interesting.
So then the idea of the school is that it is fully transformative and fully international, meaning that the headquarters are in Finland and also because I have a farm now in Sicily, so in Sicily in Italy as well. And we meet 4 times a year, like a retreat kind of meeting. And otherwise, it's teaching online, or also, of course, if you're from Finland, for example, or from Scandinavia, I can fly to Finland and we can also do in person meetings, which are so precious as well. And we have tutors that speak 10 different languages.
Wow.
So you can do your homework or your cases in the language, in one of these 10. It's all the European languages except a couple. And that's why it's truly international. So even though we will be teaching in English, you can use your own language in many other ways. Because I know there's countries like we have always had a lot of students from Estonia, and they've been struggling a little bit with Finnish. They're quite good in English, but then they like to do some homework in Estonian. Or then we can have Danish people, or then we can have German people, or French people, or so on. And I think that's really something I'm very excited about that.
How did you find your tutors? Because that's who's lecturing and who are you getting on board?
So you can go on our website, even your name is there. Or we have in Afrikaans.
That can happen. We can make that happen.
So it is our old teachers and our old tutors who happen to just speak many languages. We have these wizards at school, and then many new ones. Like we have the old school. We've got Declan Hammond, not old school, but the maestro. We've got Alice Timmerman. We've got Divya Chopra, and then Ian Watson is there. And then we have us a little bit newer, like myself, Sara Valentini, Denitsa Apolline. Janey Lavelle is teaching. Antoinette McQueen is teaching from Ireland. We've got Vanessa Parado she's actually from Barcelona, but she's in Finland. And a few others that have special things. Sapna Devi is also joining our crew. So I'm really, really excited about having a very juicy and, with different modalities, and all these wiselings have joined us.
That is really amazing. You are going to have so much fun. And how are you structuring the course? Like, how are you doing that side of things?
Yeah. So the live meetings is like 4 times a year. We meet every Thursday and every third Tuesday. And then we have clinics also. So it's a lot of online meeting. And then we have groups where people share a lot. And then they have their own tutors that they come with their cases and, clinic things. That's
That's
how it will
amazing,
happen.
especially you've been sharing some beautiful photos of your new place in Sicily, and it's just incredible how that's all come about. But it's so beautiful that you get to continue with your teaching because it's something that you're so passionate about and so naturally gifted at. and you get to actually bring it into this international sphere, and you can go between the two countries and still offer this, which is amazing.
Exactly. And then actually for next year, we've also planned to meet once in Ireland, for example, because many of our teachers are from Ireland and it's such a beautiful island. So, once you come on the journey with us, you also get to travel because being international is going to different places.
I wouldn't expect anything less of you other than lots of traveling and going to amazing places being involved. So that sounds like a good excuse to study and travel at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. And our idea is like we keep the basics of classical homeopathy. We are an ECCH school, so we have the credentials, but then we bring the new. We've always brought the new. So it's like we want to offer the students different modalities that they can choose how to practice. And as we know, in the end, it's the client who is telling us which modality to use. So we will definitely have the new detoxes, and of course the triturations will be making our remedies, so it will be very embodied, and then all kinds of creative work. That's something, the art of homeopathy has been a big part of our school always. Like you can, for example, make a painting as your thesis and then write about it.
Wow.
We've created a play, homeopathic play, Cafe Hahnemann. And one of the ladies wants to do, she wants to interview people who use homeopathy. So that kind of project. We've translated books. So I said, the sky is not the limit for you as long as you tell me what you're doing. So let's go for it.
That's beautiful. And that was with your previous like bricks and mortar school, but now with this new school, you're going to be using that same sort of format. Because I
Yes,
know that
yes,
previously you were talking about there was this beautiful painting that was it a swan
yeah.
that was in the painting that one of your students painted? And
Yes,
there
it
was a few
was
others.
a death walk with me. So it was a journey of death and grief. And there was ayahuasca, there was swan and arsenicum
Mm.
painting over there.
Wow.
So, yes, so all of that which we've learned from the past, we are taking in, and then, of course, making it more transformative. And then I think even more embodied in the way that when we meet on those weekends, we will have all kinds of, therapeutic work and, yoga and constellations. And because we want our future homeopaths to feel really good and to really go on the healing journey together.
Amazing. And also, do you have like a particular intake that you're going to be doing, or is it like a rolling intake, or how are you going to be doing
Yes.
that?
So our first class starts on the 20th of September, and
Mhm.
the intake is open and everything is on our website. And we'll go from there onwards. I have some students that are transferring from the old school to the new school, and they knew about that already. So far, it's pretty small, and we kind of want to also keep it intimate in the way that we want the quality to be really good. So, you know, we do repertorize. We are very strong about reading the organon and, having really good basis like in mathematics. And then you can sprout like little flowers or mushrooms or cactus, in different directions. Yeah.
Beautiful. Just tell me a little bit about Sacred Source School that you and Janie are doing, because I thought that this was kind of like integrated somehow in that sort of way. But you and Janie are doing Sacred Source School separately from what you're doing with the Transformative School of Homeopathy.
Yes. So we feel like the Sacred Source School is the spiritual school. It does have homeopathy as well, but you don't graduate as a homeopath. So that is more like we are starting now with retreats. Our idea in the future is also to have like a 1 or 2 year curriculum with it. And that definitely has different modalities, like, shiatsu and body work and going with the Celtic wheel and a lot of astrology and things like that. So that's really a women's spiritual school. And I kind of feel like the Academy of Transformative Homeopathy is like to graduate as a homeopath, but also as a healer. And then if you don't want to have the diploma, the ECCH diploma, it's a lot of work. The students always struggle because you need to have your medical studies and certain amount of, there's a lot of homework and things which we try to make as exciting as possible. So it's not like it's not boring, but it takes hours. So then the Sacred Source School is like it's just free to come and fully learn who you are and, just enjoy women's circles and enjoy finding your own spiritual path. So it's kind of like the creme de la creme. The idea is maybe you first become a homeopath and then you come there. And so that's why they are, like they are touching each other very much. And the Sacred Source School, one of the headquarters is in Sicily as well, because the land, we went there with Janie and we were like, this is so perfect for making remedies and, for sharing and having women's circles and just to come and heal with the
Mm.
land. Yeah.
Mm. With Sacred Source School, I was just going to ask as well, can you, because I know you've done a few lectures on there already, they
Yes.
kind of have been sort of like once a month, you've been having them.
Yes.
And can
Yes.
people purchase the
Yes.
back recordings and things like that as well?
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
amazing.
definitely. So we've
Okay.
got 11, 11, 12, 12, and then we have 5, 5, and they're actually on my pages, so you can just click and purchase them. And they're about building your sacred altar and about Mary Magdalene
Mm.
and all this about abundance. So that's the thing that there'll be like small offerings that will continue. And then we have a plan. The dates are not sure yet. I think it will be for next year, spring 2026, to go to south of France and do the Maria Magdalena retreat in Saint Pom.
Oh my
Everybody has been
goodness. Are you
asking about that.
serious?
Welcome. Yes.
That
Yes.
is amazing because I just have to put like a little bit of a personal note in here that we had Janie talk about the Maria Magdalena remedy in our membership last month or the month before.
Yes.
And it prompted me to finally take the remedy because even though you ladies have told me about it for ages, I finally took it. And I don't know what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting too much because it's a 7C, but knowing that you ladies created it and all the magic that went into creating it, I shouldn't have like doubted for 1 second. But I am like the most skeptical homeopath ever. I still doubt every time I take a remedy. I think this isn't going to work. And then it like kicks my ass. But Maria Magdalena remedy was unbelievable. And I've prescribed it to almost every woman that I've seen since because it was so transformative for me. And I only took it for about 2 weeks or so. And then I've just had to take a little break. I'll take it again at some stage because
Yeah.
it brought up a lot of stuff and it was amazing. Like I can't even fully, I think I'm still processing everything that it brought up for me. It's really, really
Yeah.
powerful remedy. And then I listened to the audiobook of Maria Magdalena Revealed, which you and Janie was saying to
Oh,
listen to. And it
yes.
is amazing. And then as she's telling her journey of visiting the cave and having listened to you and Janie's story of visiting the cave, I'm like, oh my God, I would love to go. So I think
That,
it's amazing that you are doing that, offering that pilgrimage because when you and Elisa and Janie went, I think there was about 6 of you that went, right?
yeah, we were teachers and students from my school. We were 8 together, but 2
I,
of them were girls,
mhm.
one of our daughters. So it
Yeah.
was really precious to bring our daughters along as
S-
well.
So if you're going to do this journey, are you going to do that on like a bigger scale of like taking a few more people along?
I
Or will it
think
still be?
13 is the
Okay.
number of Maria Magdalena, so we shouldn't make it bigger because it really needs to be very, like it needs to be very intimate because
Mhm.
Maria Magdalena brings our sister wound and our mother wound and all the traumas that we've had and all the things when we've not been treated well as a woman. So, there's so much everybody carries, if not themselves collectively. So we
Mm.
want to give space for that. It's such a huge healing journey that you can go on. And this was the second time that I did it. The first time we were 13 ladies actually going, and they were also school students and teachers, like, well, it's 6 years ago now. And every time you go, it's different because you find different layers of yourself, and, yeah. And then because doing a pilgrimage and making a remedy at the same time. It's different doing a pilgrimage and just writing and meditating. But when you put the pilgrimage into a remedy and you triturate it, it's so much deeper because you just experience all the layers of the pilgrimage.
Do you think you'll take that 7C and then triturate it higher when you go, or would you make a new one?
We triturated it to C5 and then we potentized it.
Oh, gotcha.
I think it needs to be potentized higher.
Mm.
But of course, we are open to triturating higher as well.
I think you might have to
You know?
triturate it a little
Yes,
bit
yes,
higher
yes.
when
But
you
I
go.
would like to do it from a fresh start.
Mm.
because sometimes when you triturate a remedy, I feel like it's complete. I always feel that it's good to kind of like be on the process. And like this time, we only did until C2 in France, and then we did a C3, and then C4 and C5 on Mary Magdalene's Day. We were on the journey for 3 months, and people did have some physical symptoms. And I think it's better that you do the journey, you have time to really raise it up, not like years after. It's somehow, when it's sealed, and then you can use it as a remedy.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And also, you don't,
Yeah.
it would almost be a little bit jarring, almost like somebody else new
Yeah.
coming in and then titerating from that
Yes,
level
yes.
instead of actually, it's kind of like giving somebody a 10 of a remedy instead of working them up from a 30C to a 200 or
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's kind
Beautiful.
of like opening the Pandora's box from the side in a way without, yeah. I mean, making these remedies, you just need a lot of respect.
Mm.
And when we do the remedies, we've talked about the shamanistic remedies of the Arctic. We have another three coming up, and the book will be out on the 13th of September.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's going
Tell,
to be
tell.
18 remedies.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So are these the ones that you did in Sicily recently?
No, no,
Oh,
no. They are the shamanistic remedies that I've talked about, but we've added a reindeer horn. We went up to Samiland with my master class, and it was amazing. I mean, because it's such a huge part of the Sami culture, the reindeer, it's actually everything. And then we have three, we actually next Wednesday on the 11th, we're doing three women's remedies. So to just make it perfect. And yeah, we're editing at the time, and it's going to be the thesis of one of our students. So she's translating. So we are doing it straight in English. I just want
amazing.
to get them together because I feel nobody has really done Arctic remedies,
Mm.
like as a whole.
Mm.
And I don't say we could have 50 remedies. The nature, especially this time of the year, is full of everything, but at least we have minerals, plants, and animals. So it's like they are representing some parts of the Arctic nature.
Oh, I'm so excited for the book
Yeah.
coming out. That's going to be amazing. Do you know where people will be able to purchase it?
I think we are going to just launch soon a pre-sale,
Mhm.
and then we will have a book launch in Helsinki. So everybody's of course welcome over there, and I don't know what kind of shamanistic juju we are going to gather up for that day.
Oh, that'll be amazing.
Yeah.
We had so much incredible feedback from your episode on the Arctic remedies, and also your talk in Bali was just unbelievable. And we do also, I think we've mentioned a few times on the podcast, but we do have Reita's remedies available through my website,
Yeah.
eugeniekruger.com, and you just click on royalty remedies, and then you'll see Reita's remedies there, which, it's lovely that we get to do that. And it'll be lovely to add your new remedies on there as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. And people have been ordering the kits also from this side of the world
Oh,
and
yay.
really loving them. And in the book, like for example, we've got Aquamarina Arctica, which is the Arctic sea water. We are explaining how it's different to Natrium muriaticum or Aquamarina, for example. So
Mm.
then, there's a lot of, yeah, it's a transmission, and it's definitely shamanistic,
Mhm.
but also like you get to compare it with the old world, with the polycrests, or like we've done Corvus, compare it a little bit with the old Corvus and so on. So you can immediately integrate it into your practice.
Mhm. I was just going to ask you as well, whereabouts can people purchase your other Arctic remedies? So can they just get it from you directly, or what other sources can they get it
Yes,
from?
they could just write to me directly. So either you'll find us at Instagram at homeopathy is the new Instagram of our school, or then, just email me so I can give you all the details after.
Okay, I'll pop that. Do you sell the kits in that little red kit that you gave me?
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
that's so
yes,
cute.
yes.
I actually just walked past my kit as I was coming to record, and I should have like grabbed it with me. But you have to see the gorgeous little kits that Rita sells.
Yeah.
They're just these teeny tiny little kits, and they've got a little lotus on them. They are so pretty. They're so, so pretty. So I just have to show our listeners who might be on Rumble and YouTube just Rita's gorgeous little kits. They're so cute. I love that little lotus on it as well.
Yeah, it is lovely.
And you got all your remedies in there. How cute is that? And it's
Yeah,
so little.
they are
It's
beautiful.
beautiful. You've done a really great job with these. They are so cute. Rita gave me this when we were in Bali, and it's just one of my beautiful treasured homeopathy gifts. I love it. I love it.
I think when you triturate a remedy, first of all, you put a lot of hours into it.
Hmm.
And it's very shamanistic because you go on the journey with a group of people. So most of those remedies are made triturated. So I always use, with a lot of respect, all the homeopathic remedies naturally, but especially the triturated ones. They're kind of like the gems that I'm,
Mm.
holding back, and then I'm really thinking when to use them. Because, in my opinion and in my experience, they kind of work with the family lines and the family traumas and the ancestral trauma really well, especially when they are triturated to C5 and above, because that's the collective level and so on. So I would think like, do I give a pulsatilla just ordinary to someone, or do I want to have them go on a triturated remedy? It feels kind of like deeper and it goes more to the bones and the ancestors. That's how I work with them.
Mm. Oh, it's beautiful. Some of these newer remedies, I am using them a bit more intuitively because obviously, I mean, there's information that you've brought out on it, but it hasn't been clinically used that much. So we don't have like that many. It's not in our mainstream Materia Medica books. So I do often use them intuitively. This week, I actually gave it to somebody who has had repeated mastitis for a few months now in the right breast. And of course, the breast is to do with mothering and nurturing, and the right side's to do with the masculine. And there wasn't that great a connection with her mum. So I gave her Maria Magdalena, and I thought maybe that can just bring in some of the divine feminine. So I'm looking forward to hearing how she goes, because at the end of the day, these remedies can sound as great in our mind as we want them to, but we need like clinical
Yes.
experience of it as well. So that's why we have to use them and see what they do in clinic so that we can then, feed that back and go, okay, well, this has helped with mastitis as well. And then maybe one day they do become mainstream, and Maria Magdalena is the first remedy we give for mastitis. So,
Definitely, definitely. And we just talked with Janie yesterday that we often give Maria Magdalena, but we might give a constitutional remedy also. And many of these shamanistic remedies, I might give them as like an intentional remedy. Like, for example, the Corvus, I might give it because it's a shifter of things if a person is stuck. And then I might give like an aluminium that is really stuck. So they work, like kind of like they are the players, they are the dancers, they are the ones that come and they like nurture your soul. And then we can have the old together with it. So,
absolutely. Actually, this
yeah,
client, I have
yeah,
to say, I also gave her phyto lacquer and a 6C to put in
yeah,
her water bottle daily to help
exactly.
with the lymphatics. And, so I do like to give those as well. But I do exactly what you do. And this is why I love when us rebels especially chat with each other, because even though we all practice differently, we do so much of the same, or we come from the same place. Like I feel it's still grounded, right? Like I do
Of
exactly the
course.
same, even though we haven't like talked about it specifically in that way. I use those remedies as well, kind of on a deeper level. So
Yeah, yeah.
I had a client who has got anal fissures. And so we're giving a remedy specifically for that, but also, like a different remedy to kind of help them on a deeper level. So yeah, I do exactly the same as you.
That's so beautiful when you can use homeopathy multi-layered intentionally and they don't like interfere with each other. And I've been doing this now maybe for 15 years. So I
Mm.
can say with experience, and okay, in some cases, maybe it is that a client just is a one remedy, a polycrest remedy for quite a long time. And that's also perfectly fine. My clients tend to be ladies that are really quite far in their spiritual path and have done homeopathy for quite some time. And these new remedies are just boom made for them. So every single remedy I've made, I've used them. And our thing with Janie is to start collecting our clinical data.
Hello, Janie. So Janie is hanging out with Reita at the moment in Finland. And tell us a little bit about your recent trip to Sicily. And you created some exciting remedies while you were there.
Oh, well, hello. I feel like I've just woken up from an ancient sleep.
Welcome to Finland.
Literally,
I was
Janie has
traveling with
just
Spirit.
arrived after like you had a couple of nights of no sleep with travel and having to do lots and lots. So you're looking very fresh though. So it must be the fresh
Am
Finnish
I? Oh my
air,
goodness.
nice Arctic air.
So back in February, Rita sent me a little Facebook advertisement for this property in Sicily. And as soon as I opened it, I was like, oh my goddess, that's Rita's property. Because I'm known to many of you guys watching, Rita's been in ceremony for many, many years to find her land. And because we're both such gypsies, it's been quite a long and multi-country journey to, I guess, materialize the property. And as soon as I opened it, I said to my son, Manoia, grab some lemons, I'm going to get some roses, and we'll go down to the sea and have a conversation with the ocean to take the lemons and the roses to Sicily as an offering for Reeta to get the property.
Oh, wow.
And the next day, she jumped on a plane and went to Sicily to view this amazing property, Eugenie. It's like something out of the Bible nearly. It's got 100 olive trees on it. And when myself and Reeta and Daniela went over in May to see it, I think that was your third time on the land, was it?
Yeah.
I couldn't stop crying. Yeah. I was a mess, and Mount Etna was right there. And because Reeta and Daniela can speak Italian, the little old couple that used to own it thought I could also speak Italian. So everyone was speaking in Italian. I have very basic Italian, but I always think in my head that I can understand what everyone's saying anyway. And I decided just to go for a little walk up the property, look at the trees. All the cherry trees were fruiting. So there was like so many cherries everywhere. So we were gorging ourselves on cherries. And as I was walking up, I was just sobbing because I was so happy for Reeta to finally, she's found her dream property, and it's covered in olive trees, and there's so much grapes there. You can make around 400 liters of wine a year, 400 liters of olive oil. There's avocados, lemons, oranges, the most beautiful rose bushes. And as I was walking up the driveway and having a chat to Etna and eating the cherries and everything, the owner, Vincenzo, started walking up, and he's 84 years old. And he's the most beautiful, humble, kind, gentle soul. He was picking roses as he went, and he had his pocket knife, and he was taking every single thorn off the roses. And he came over to me, and he could see that I was crying. And he handed me a rose. And he was telling me in Italian all these things. And I knew he was talking about the rose bushes, but I wasn't sure exactly what he was saying. I just started crying even more. And Reeta and Daniela and his wife came over then, and he was saying that all those rose bushes represent one of the dead grandmothers and his mother, and that when they die, they've planted those rose bushes on the land out of respect and out of remembrance for them. So even though I couldn't understand what he was saying to me in Italian, I fully felt the words. And because we've been on this huge journey with Maria Magdalena, the rose has become such a huge, important piece in my life. I haven't said this actually. Will I tell them?
Yeah.
I haven't said this anywhere, but after I came back from France with the Trituration in 2023, if I saw roses in people's gardens, I would get my pocket knife out.
Do the Intesa Parfumi.
And steal, nick a couple of roses. And yeah, I think just being on the land and listening to Vincenzo's stories and Maria as well. His wife's called Maria.
Of course she is.
Of course.
Imagine.
Of course. I'm not even surprised.
Now, listening to them talk, you can just feel like he came to that land in his mother's belly. And there's so much love there and just so much magic. So with Reeta's new school, with the ATH, that's going to be the headquarters of the school. And Reeta's got this huge vision to create something there that people can come and stay on the land. And I didn't get to stay. I could only come over for a week, so I didn't end up staying on the land, but they put the bell tents up, or the yurta, and they stayed on the land and had just an amazing experience.
Yeah, the thing about the land is that for us homeopaths, it's volcanic and it's full of sulfur. So it brings out everything. It's not for the faint-hearted. you know? So you can come and visit it. Maybe it's not such a good idea to sleep there for too long. You know, we can have retreats and we can visit, but it's kind of like the Garden of Eden because it's so fertile. And naturally, once we're done with the shamanistic remedies, we'll go with the Sicilian remedies. So all the fruit trees and so on. And one of the most amazing remedies that I have been prescribed as a suitcase child is the olive tree. And interestingly, most of my family is in Finland, but now that we have property in Sicily, we are all united. We are like an Italian family with an extended Parfumi family and Giovanni's family, who is the caretaker of the land. And it's like we suddenly, because I've always loved Kabbalah, I feel like my tree of life is complete. And at the same time, I'm starting it
Oh, wow.
with
When you
this
say
land.
suitcase child, what is a suitcase child? Oh, you mean like a gypsy?
When you've lived in different, you know, like because I grew up in Africa and then we've been moving around all the time. So we call ourselves the suitcase
Oh,
childs, the
I
people
like
who
that. I've
love to
never
be
heard
on
of that.
airplanes. So, you know, the olive as a homeopathic remedy doesn't lacks roots. They are the suitcase children. So, you know, we can always treat somebody who doesn't know where they belong. And my family, who are Finnish, we feel now that we belong to Sicily. And we have been welcomed with such an open heart, and we have been treated like queens wherever we go. And every single food that is offered, you know, is with the biggest gratitude, and it's orgasmic. I mean, come to Sicily, you just get blown out. And it's like everything happens like in the 50s. People
Yeah.
don't really care about making money. They love their land and they love their family and they love their food. And it's all about amore.
You're
Yeah.
selling Sicily hardcore.
After Lisa sent the Facebook link, you know, the algorithm is so clever on the phone. After she sent the link, the next time I opened my phone, this news article popped up and it said Sicilian gold. And I was just like, what's this? So I opened it immediately. And it was an article about Lamanna, which was the reason I went over to Sicily, because as soon as I read it, I said to Reeta, I found the next remedy we're going to have to triturate. And what it is a substance that the ash tree produces, and it really only does this in Sicily from a particular place in the Mamomi Mountains up near Palermo. So this is how the whole plan started to unfold, to gather some women and to go and find the remedy. So part of doing a trituration that maybe some people don't know is as soon as you decide the substance that you're going to do, the field starts to kind of activate, you know? So there's a whole story around all of us getting to Sicily, what happened, you know, there were so many like missed flights, delayed flights, flat tires, all this stuff with travel started happening. But when we eventually got there, we went up to Cefalù and we went up into the mountains to get the remedy, and we met the most amazing Italian man. He was probably like in his 80s, maybe.
Yeah. He was the guardian of Lamanna.
He was the sweetest man, and he had a museum up there. And so we got talking to him, and he said all he had was soap and hand cream made from Lamanna. And we'd been in a cafe and they make cakes and buns and everything out of it as well. So it's a substance that the ash tree produces, and it's highly, highly nutritious. It's very, very sweet. And it's really rich in minerals. It's dense in minerals, and it only produces Lamanna at a particular time of year.
Beginning of September.
Yeah. And it drips out of the tree and it solidifies and starts to look like stalactites. And it was almost like a lost food source in Sicily. And I think it was back in the 60s, another guy revived the production of it and cultivated a way to produce it that served the trees and didn't harm the trees, but also brought it back and revived the use of it in the Sicilian culture.
And Lamanna is ancient. Moses, after getting his commandments, he managed 40 days in the desert with Lamanna from the gods. So I think there's 18 mentions of manna in the Bible.
Yeah. You might know it, Eugenie,
I
because they say
do.
from heaven.
Yeah,
Manna from heaven.
absolutely.
Yeah,
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 absolutely.
yeah.
That's why when you ladies said on in the group about making it, I'm pretty sure I said, is that like manna from the Bible? Because
Yes,
Yeah,
you
that's the only
did.
way I know
yeah.
the term from. That's incredible. So have you triturated it already?
Until C2.
Mm.
So we wanted to bring it to the land and bless the land with Lamanna. And we have pictures that we can share where Janie, for example, looks like the whole shed looks like where Jesus was born because it's very like simple. And she comes, and I'm like, oh, wow, Mary is coming out of the shed that we have. Where are the donkeys? So it's like, welcome, donkeys. So it's like it took us really, and every 15 minutes, the bells were ringing from the mountains, and only when we were triturating. And all the other magic that was happening. So now that Janie is here, we are going to do C3, C4, C5. And
Yeah.
maybe with that, we'll go a little bit higher eventually.
Amazing.
And it's for everyone. It seems to be very similar as mastic gum by Denitsa Apollin-Matic. So it's like the glue, it's so sweet and it's so soft, and it feels like it's the repair of all the years and all the ancestors and the whole humankind. It's
Yeah.
big.
Well, and one of the things that came through even really early on in C1 and C2 was everybody started really speaking very honestly with each other. There was some really difficult subjects coming up.
Yeah.
And there was this huge also sense of, really speaking your truth, but doing it with dignity, doing it with like respect, and saying the hardest things that you might struggle with saying, but knowing that you had to say them. And from that, then there also, in the C1 and C2, there were physical symptoms, but it was really already in this huge kind of sense of the collective field. And the energy that started to come through really strongly, Eugenie, was about tradition and kind of what's happening in the world at the moment and how the world's transforming in the kind of the realms of medicine and within the realms of homeopathy, and how things are jumping from that classical, traditional, I guess,
Paradigm.
kind of aspect.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're moving so quickly at the minute. And I know that's mirrored in, of course, AI, but what we were seeing with the remedy was that so much of the tradition is being lost. And the mana was showing us that keep it simple, keep it very clear. And, this is like, it was feeding us the information as we were triturating.
I feel like it was an ancient reset. Because at the same time as we were really like keep it simple, but it had this religious or spiritual aspect of keeping it simple, keeping ourselves aligned and strongly rooted. So it was like very simple with so many layers, and naturally we still need to discover so much more about it.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't help but wonder, with it being such a highly nutritious food, whether it would be good for like kiddies with failure to thrive, or things like digestive things or nutritional deficiencies, or maybe children with autism who their diets are often not that great, so they're not getting that nutrition in. But it'll be interesting to see if there's an aspect of, because it's so highly nutritious.
And also because the land where we did it, you don't have any internet there. You cannot really tell what year you're living. So we really felt like we are, in the beginning of times, in the beginning of the Christian times. That's where it took us. So, we could just because the trees look the same. You don't see anything around. You see the sea, okay, maybe a few boats. And then you see Etna, that's always been there. So it's like, it's so good to reset yourself sometimes into timelessness.
Yeah. And actually, Eugenie, you know how mad I am about trees. So, literally, in every culture that has ash trees, then that tree is so deeply revered. And Odin hung himself on the tree of life, which was an ash tree.
Yeah.
And I have these two tattoos on my wrists. They're called bind runes. My whole life has kind of been this pathway to where I am now. So when I got those tattoos on my 28th birthday, I didn't really know too much about bind runes and Odin, but he hung himself on this tree of life, which was the ash tree. It's called the Yazig
Is it?
drill.
Yeah.
Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
and to receive the knowledge of the alphabet. And he had to sacrifice his eye to do that. So it's like having those tattoos took me on this huge journey with the bind runes, and has kind of led me back to the ash tree and, you know, all the things that happen in your life that you don't realize at the time are part of the, you know, the bigger journey of your soul's trajectory here. So part of that then is the three sisters' fate are weaving at the roots of that tree, the three main roots of that tree of life, and spinning everybody's fate into being. So I said to Reeta and the other girls, like, with this substance, we're also going to have to do a deep dive into the ash tree and start to learn more about the healing properties of the ash tree, because Lamanna comes from the ash tree. So we really have to take that into consideration into homeopathy, because it's like a dynamic relationship. One of those substances would not exist without the other. So it's really in the infancy, in the early stages of knowing what the remedy is going to be able to cure in sick people. And that's, you know, that's the thing with triturations and provings. People are hungry for the information, but all the remedies that we have made, we've taken our time to use them in clinical practice to see what they heal in people, because there's also a little bit of not knowing. But when you do a trituration, you feel the essence of that substance so deeply that when somebody walks in, you nearly immediately know that they need that particular remedy, whether it's Corvus Corax or Heliatus albacilla or whatever it is, you feel it. And that's why doing the triturations is also so important, because it's a different experience than just getting a remedy from a pharmacy. And like Reeta said, all these layers appear. So the next time we go back to Sicily, we're going to go up into the mountains. Franco, who was the Lamanna man, has invited us to come into the mountains to get the manna from the trees itself.
That's actually the time when the wine is made.
That's very
On my
convenient.
land. So we'll have Lamanna and the wine. Because I didn't actually know when I bought the property that the other room, you still make wine there traditionally, as it's always done for thousands of years. So we will be able to see that in September.
As in, like, with your feet, like stomping the wine, that traditional, or
I
not
think
quite that
yeah,
traditional?
I think it can be that if you want, and then they have all the, you know, they have the wine up, and then it comes through some concrete, and then you have the bottles, and I mean the whole room is laid with all of this, which is still unknown to me. But that also feels like that's so ancient, because wine has been made always. So they are like these few substances, like olives, we've always had them, and you know, yeah, that land somehow brings us to the reset. And then it came to my mind also that because when we met with Janie 6 years ago, we suddenly remembered that actually it wasn't our first meeting, and definitely there's lifetimes. But in Sinai, I actually, with a friend of mine, gave a lift to Janie when I was about 20 and you were 19 or 21.
In
21,
What?
20. And I remembered her, and I was like, you had this and this dress on, and you had this. And I was so amazed by her, like, who is this lady? And that is the land of also the manna. That's where Moses was in Sinai. So it's like there's a divine plan, I feel. Do you feel?
I think it's pretty clear. I think everyone can feel it.
So this is a little bit of sacred source school, you know?
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
the divine plan.
I think, you know, Eugenie, what's so funny, like neither of Reeta or I are religious as such. I mean, when I started Sunday school, I was 5 and I got kicked out of Sunday school. Imagine. Yeah.
And I never
Asking
went.
too many questions.
Kicked out. And the priest said to my parents, she asked too many questions and she's challenging the Bible, and that's it. And because I told him I wasn't made out of dirt, I was made out of stardust.
Oh,
He said, that's it.
Out.
Out. And I don't know if that was a wounding for me, but I never followed the religious path. It was always something that, you know, didn't really align with me, and because I'm just such a rebel. But what's happened since we did the Maria Magdalena is that it's taking us back through the lineage of the path that she walked. And I feel like some of the remedies that have landed since we did the Maria Magdalena, I like Lamanna, are so biblical. And after I taught for the hangout, when was that, like a
The
month
membership.
ago?
Yeah, we were just, I think it was a month ago. It feels like it was ages ago, but I actually think it was just a month ago. It feels like
Well,
everything's speeding up so much. And
I came out of my house and there was 4 donkeys in the field. I've never seen 4 donkeys in this field opposite my house, and they were all had their heads over the fence and were looking me straight in the eye. And I had this kind of telepathic communication with them, and they were saying to me, "What about the donkeys, Janie? You didn't mention the donkeys." So then, as you know, in the Rebels group, I put this thing in saying, okay, what does everybody know about Lac Asylum, the donkey's milk remedy? And since then, Eugenie, all these donkeys have started to appear in my life. And I know I taught the triads that have kind of come through since Maria Magdalena, but now the new triad is coming of Maria Magdalena and Donkey's Milk and
Lamanna.
Lamanna.
oh, that sounds amazing.
Woohoo! I can feel the history trying to, like, I have to hold on because I'm like on a time machine.
I mean, this
Wow.
work is so divine that, you
Mm,
know, this is Lamanna saying, in a way, stay with the tradition,
mm,
but move with the times.
mm.
So we're going to see, this is such an incredible journey, and you know, it's a real privilege to be able to
Yeah.
make this kind of magic. And yeah, and Retta's book is coming out.
Yeah.
That's going to have a lot of the remedies she's done, and our endeavors is to also to write a book on our triturations. And we decided in Sicily that we're going to do a book on the Maria Magdalena, the whole kind of journey and the
Yeah.
Yeah, you
remedy,
have to.
so that homeopaths can have that. They can have it on the desktop, and that it's easy to access. So this
Yeah.
whole thing is just like, there's
I'm
all this
buying the
weird
first copy of that
thing.
book. I can't wait.
Yes, you're having the
Yeah,
first one.
yeah, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Somehow it feels like, in such a busy world that we are living, I wanted a land where you can go and recharge and to write, because that has been my dream my whole life. And I studied literature for it and everything, which, by the way, kills your any ability to
Oh,
write if you study literature because you rape the world. So I'm recovering. I'm a recovering literature student.
oh.
My family is so academic. I had to go to university to rewind myself from the academy. Yeah, anyways, that's a different story. But like, that's the perfect land for anybody who feels like wants to be on a creative project and really wants, because there is no distractions. If you can take the energy of Etna, who is sometimes, the dragons are at our back. So if you are not in your truth, they might tell you a few things. But, apart from that, it's like it's a reset. And to go there once in a while, since, of course, having a farm, I am a farmer now, the simple farmer, like most probably Jesus and Maria were. So, it goes with the cycle of the farm. So I need to be there like monthly. But at the same time, I always want to take time, and definitely Jane is going to be joining, that we actually have time to write, because so much has happened in our lives, having 4 kids and, being a
Yeah,
homeopath, being a woman. You need a reset place, really, where you can
yes.
simply just be.
I think we realized the other night we were doing some editing for the book for the shamanistic remedies, and we were going, when we do the triturations, I always scribe, I do all the notes, and when I'm triturating, then someone else does the notes, but the notebook always goes back to me because I fast write, and I don't know, it's just my role in the trituration. So we were going through our Albacilla notes, which was the sea eagle, and all this more information started to land. So
And the cases that we've used it with. And so there is a body of work.
yeah, we need a month or 2 months or 3 months, Eugenie, just to write everything up. It's so important.
Careful what you ask for, hey?
Yeah. Well, I always have taught my students that there is nothing more important than gardening And even that is not so important. So I thought when I'm done with all of this stuff that I'm doing, I can just become a gardener. And now I'm in the Garden of Eden. And, the trees are like even now, they're like, where are you? You're responsible for us.
Yeah, as soon as you left Sicily, Etna started erupting. I was like, oh, she's in a bad mood with you.
Oh my word. You should maybe give all the trees some Ignatia when you leave.
Oh, yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Well, what I do when I leave, because I live very ceremonially, so I always talk to the land and I ask permission to leave. And then when I come, I always ask permission
To
to
enter.
enter. And when I saw that Facebook ad, so I had been looking for about 8 years and I knew I'm ending up in Italy, but I thought it's Puglia. But then I was like, no, I'm an island girl. It needs to be an island. And I was like, Sicily, yes. My whole body, my womb said yes. And she told me, don't think, go. And I called my son because I was shaking so much. And I said to him, are you on the plane with me tomorrow to Sicily? He's like, sure. He didn't even
Oh.
question. He's my
Oh.
engineer boy who is always like, I know everything works when he's around because he's not as artsy fartsy as the other ones. He said, I'll drive you. If you want to have a Prosecco, you have your Prosecco. And we were driving and I looked at him and I said, son, how do you buy land? And he said, well, I have never done that. He's 25. He said, should I Google it for you or ChatGPT? I said, no, let's just go with the flow. So we were like two rookies really going to the land, immediately crying with Mr. Parfumi. Even my son speaks some Italian. He spoke fluent Italian. I think we even spoke Sicilian. I don't know what happened there. I took the Maria Magdalena to the olive trees and I took some amethysts from Finland and I said to them, if it's meant that I am your guardian, I'll do it with the deepest pleasure. And then I made an offer. There were 3 people that wanted the land. Parfumis immediately chose us. So we already knew we have them on our side, but I didn't know how much the other ones, and maybe it's a money thing or something. It wasn't at all. He told me later, I would have given it to you. I got the keys without paying anything. So that's Sicily. That's Sicily. So I made an offer in Italian that I will treasure and love the land with all my bones. And Mr. and Mrs. Parfumi are always welcome to the land and their family. That it will never leave out of them. And I will take care of the trees and I will it was so beautiful. And then I knew that I've made a big promise. And now we need to go back and, well, we can write books at the same time and bring people, build the academy.
Yeah.
Have sacred source school meetings and retreats and things. It's a beautiful base on this planet.
It sounds amazing. I cannot wait to come and see it for myself. Although those volcano rumblings after my years in New Zealand, I don't know how excited I am about volcano rumblings.
That's how I grew up, Eugenie. I grew up right underneath a huge mountain called Putawaki. And then 50 kilometers off the coast was Whakaari, White Island. So when I arrived in Sicily and got to the land, it felt really, really homely for me because of the similar energy with being, from Aotearoa.
I do miss that soil though. Oh my goodness. I always thought that I had a green thumb and I could let anything grow when I was in New Zealand. And then I was like, no, it's actually just the soil because I came to Perth and everything died.
Exactly. It's so fertile. But it is like the volcano. I am actually myself, because I've worked with dragons so much and I'm just such a huge dragon lover. I'm so happy they're at the back. And because she is active, big eruptions don't most probably happen. So it's just like
It's
everybody's
that
like,
most probably part that worries me.
well, I cannot promise anything because I am not her and I don't know how the dragons react to us humans, possibly, or some other energies. But I mean, for Sicilians, they can just go on the beach and look, and Etna is erupting and they just continue with their beach stuff. It's like, another day with Etna.
Amazing. Ladies, you have got an incredible adventure ahead of you. And for anybody who chooses to come and join your Academy of Transformative Homeopathy, I know that they will be transformed under your guidance. there will be no option other than to be transformed. Transformation is guaranteed. Whether you want it or not, it's got to happen if you're going to hang out with these ladies. So I wish you all the best with your adventures, and I'm looking forward to Sacred Source School evolving and growing a bit more, because I think there's a lot of value in that, and us women need it. I think Sacred Source School is very much needed.
She's bubbling away in the background, Eugenie.
Like a cauldron.
So
growing and getting ready, because I mean, this is our lifetime work. So, you know.
Yeah. We're going to have, did you tell them about France?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
we're going to
I'll say
do
about
a
that too.
retreat next year, because so many people have been asking for Maria Magdalena, all the wisdom, but more so that come with us to France and do the pilgrimage, which was such a huge part of the, you know, every woman that was on that pilgrimage had such a huge healing. And, you know, that's one of the things I always teach the students, is that healing is every day for you. Every single day you should be devoted to yourself in some way. And that's where the healing should start from. And then as a homeopath, you have so much more to offer, because you're tending to your own garden. Yeah. And that is such a huge part of Maria Magdalena and the remedy, and Reeta's land and the Sacred Source School. So that's going to be our first retreat next year. We're going to look at some dates this weekend amidst all the happenings here and the graduation. So hopefully you can come and join us for that, Eugenie. We might just have to come to Perth and kidnap you anyway.
It'll be amazing.
On our brooms or with our dragons. We don't know still which way we are traveling.
Let's do both.
Maybe it'll be on our donkeys.
It'll be a bit slow, and they're a bit stubborn. So go dragons.
We'll get to keep you for a long time if we come with donkeys.
Oh, ladies, thank you so much for coming and sharing your stories and your wisdom. I feel transformed every time I get to speak with you. Every WhatsApp message that you send, every voicemail, I feel transformed. And the two of you having come into my life has been one of the best things that's ever happened to me. You've taught me so much, and you've helped me grow so much, and you have talked about, like, just blown my mind with so many things that I just never thought was possible. Your endless nurturing and expansiveness just inspires me. So thank you so much for being in my life. I'm so grateful to you both. And I'm so excited to see you in Bali in a couple of months' time.
Yeah, that would be so beautiful. And I want to say thank you from my school and from all our students and all the colleagues around the world. Thank you, Eugenie, for the work you do for homeopathy.
Yeah,
you've transformed us with that.
You have, Eugenie.
And with your heart, with your mothering, as we talked about.
Oh, thanks, ladies. It wouldn't be an episode with the three of us if there weren't some tears involved. So
I have tears.
Yeah.
Thank you to you.
Can you, Reeta, it's such a pleasure, Janie. Can you please just give all the websites and all the social medias again of where everyone can find you? We'll put it in the show notes, but it's just always nice to kind of have it on the podcast as well.
Yes, definitely. Would you like to have them now?
Yeah. Just quickly tell us all the places to get everything, and then we'll put in the show notes as well.
Okay. So the new Instagram is @homeopathy altogether. And the new website for the school is athacademy.fi. And then you can find me at Reeta Pohjonen Homeopathy. And reetapohjonen.com is my own website.
And you've got Sacred Source School.
Yes, Sacred Source School. We don't have a website yet. It's in the building, but it's in the building. Is it in the building? It's in the making. But you'll find us on Instagram with Sacred Source School.
Amazing. Yeah. And while we've got Janie here as well, you can find Janie at Sage and Seer on Instagram and Facebook as well. And sageandseer.com, I think.
Sageandseer.com.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of distance healing sessions with Janie, and it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
It's the best.
Alrighty, ladies. Well, I'll see you on a little WhatsApp group in no time.
Yes.
But in the meantime, we'll say goodbye to everyone else listening in.
Yes.
Love you both lots.
Love you too. Thank you, darling.